It's 1985, a warm summer night in California. Outside, the streets are dark, empty, and silent. Inside the Romero family home, everyone is asleep except for 13-year-old James. James is awake, quietly reading a book, unable to sleep because of the heat. To pass the time, he heads to the garage, where he has been working on a small motorcycle engine for days. Then suddenly, he hears footsteps coming from the backyard. He freezes. James stares into the darkness, but what he doesn't know is that someone is already watching him. After a moment, he turns back toward the garage and continues working, pretending nothing happened. But a few seconds later, the footsteps return. This time, they're louder, closer. Now James is sure of it. Without hesitating, James moves towards the door. At almost the same moment, the man outside decides to run. James catches a glimpse of him moving past his room, and immediately he decides to sprint toward his parents' room. Within seconds, he wakes them up. His parents are shocked. They grab the phone and call the police immediately. But in those final seconds, James does something crucial. He rushes outside and sees the man getting into an orange car. At the very last moment, James manages to memorize part of the license plate. And what he doesn't know yet is that this single detail will help lead the police to one of the most terrifying criminals in American history, Richard Ramirez.
Do you admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another, are we not?
Richard Ramirez was born in 1960. He was the youngest of 5 children. From the outside, his life didn't seem unusual. A simple family, an ordinary childhood. There were no obvious signs, no behavior that made people think he would one day become a monster. But behind the ordinary image, something darker was already taking shape. Ramirez grew up in a struggling Mexican immigrant household. His father was known for being harsh and violent, but the biggest influence on Richard's family came from someone else, a man named Miguel. Miguel had returned from the Vietnam War. According to later accounts, he taught Richard dangerous habits, how to watch people, how to move unnoticed. Then, in 1973, came the moment that changed everything. At the time, Richard was only 13 years old when he witnessed a horrifying scene inside the family home. An argument between Miguel and his wife Jessie. Jessie tried to calm things down. Miguel was furious. And then, in a single moment, everything stopped. Miguel pulled out a gun. Miguel shot Jessie in front of Richard. The innocent Richard becomes in this moment the most furious monster ever known. On June 28, 1984, Ramirez committed his first officially confirmed murder. And from there, a nightmare began. His victims were men, women, and even children. With every passing month, the number of attacks kept growing. And that was exactly what made the fear spread so fast. No one felt safe. The media began covering the case heavily, and soon the entire country knew the name that would define him, the Night Stalker.
I won't come back in here again, you understand that? This trial is a joke, though.
It's May 1985. Maria Hernandez is just getting home from work. It feels like any other evening. Nothing seems unusual, and nothing feels wrong. Maria pulls into the garage, steps out of the car, and walks towards the house. Then she hears it. Movement behind her. She turns and sees a man with a gun. Before she can react, Richard fires. Maria drops to the ground. What Richard doesn't know at this moment, that Maria is still alive. She doesn't move. She forces herself to stay still and pretends to be dead. Inside the house, another woman named Deli Yoshioka hears the gunshot. She panics and hides in the kitchen. At the same time, Maria manages to stand up and escape. Ramirez stops for a second. Everything is quiet. The woman hiding inside starts to believe she's safe. Deli stands up and sees Richard in front of her. And in that moment, she realizes she's looking into the face of death. Deli Yoshioka dies on the spot, and Maria survives. Richard Ramirez keeps going, but eventually, he began making mistakes. And one of the biggest mistakes came when James Romero, the 13-year-old boy from California, memorized key details about the car and part of the plate number. That information helped investigators narrow the search. The day everything finally collapsed, Ramirez gets off a bus and walks through the city like he's just another ordinary man. Then he steps into a small convenience store, acting completely normal. He moves through the aisles, calm, usual, and noticed. But then his eyes land on a newspaper, and in that moment, he sees his own face. He realizes the police are looking for him. He drops everything and heads straight for the door. He has to get out. What Richard doesn't realize is that this is the moment everything starts to fall apart. The fear he spread across the city is about to turn back on him. After running from the store, he tries to steal a nearby car. He spots a woman sitting inside, rushes towards her, yanks the door open, but before he can take control, her husband appears. Without hesitation, he hits Ramirez. Ramirez manages to break free and run again. But now, something happens that he never expects. People don't just stand there and watch. They start chasing him. They point at him, shout to each other, and block his path. Then, he falls. People surround him, hold him down, and refuse to let him go. They keep him pinned until the police arrive. Years later, his story finally comes to an end. On June 2013, Richard Ramirez dies in prison.